Hi, hello. Hopefully you got to see my amazing sunset video that I did earlier. I was so overwhelmed by the sunset. I had to take the photographs as quickly as possible because, as you know, the sun changes really, really fast in the morning. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. I live in a rented property, which I'm pretty sure I've mentioned before in my videos. Now, I cannot stand on the unit. If I could, I would, but I can't, so I won't. So I'm currently on a little bit of a stool. So I'm raising my arm as high as I can to show you my boiler. Now, I'm in a rented property, and it is my landlord's job to make sure my boiler is serviced every year. It's an annual service. If you're a homeowner, then obviously it's your job, your responsibility to make sure that it is serviced. But if I was a homeowner and I found out what I have found out about this boiler, I would be demanding my money back from the person that installed it. Now, I'm not a plumber, my dad was, and the boiler that I'm about to show you, this is the top of the boiler. So if anyone who is an expert, I don't want people guessing, I mean people that are actually fully qualified, have a gas, what is now called a gas safety certification. It used to be Corgi registered, now it's gas safe. I will slowly pan down, scroll down with my camera and show you this boiler. So this is the top of the boiler. I do apologise for the dust, but again, because I can't stand on the units, I don't really clean it. So it's what I call my little spiderweb corner. Fantastic in the summer, especially when I had loads of wasps living in the roof of the house. I just left all the spiders' webs in the window, and they actually helped to keep the wasps from coming into the house. So that was a plus. You can actually see from this angle that the space on the wall was shows how big the original boiler was, or the space the original boiler took. So as we pan down slowly, we can see that none of this has been filled in by my landlord or by the person who installed the boiler, who's supposed to be a plumber and obviously gas safety registered. We then come to the make and model of the boiler, and do not use this person. Okay, I am naming and shaming you on social media. This is the person who installed this boiler. This is the person who I need to now report to Gas Safe as being a dodgy plumber. All right, this boiler has not been installed correctly. All right, this is the pipework underneath. Some of it is copper, some of it is plastic. And it leaks. Luckily, it's just the water that is the problem. And it hasn't been a gas leak, it's been a water leak. I have been waiting since this boiler was installed in 2021 for my landlord to have this boiler serviced. Yes, environmental health are involved. I contacted them again in January of this year, and somebody finally came out to see me on Tuesday. So I don't care what anyone says, it's an absolute load of crap, all right? The local companies are not being named and shamed enough for not doing their jobs properly. And environmental health in Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council have taken from January until Tuesday of this week, we are in June, to come out and speak to me about the fact that I have got a boiler that hasn't been serviced, and despite me trying to get my landlord to service this appliance, he has refused. I then phoned up environmental health again and again and again and again, like everybody would probably do. And he basically turned around and said to environmental health, oh, the person who rents that house is bullshitting you. She has never phoned me to tell me the boiler needs servicing. She has never phoned me to tell me that there's been an issue with the appliance. Well, I shouldn't have to ring him. He is my landlord. It is his job to know when his boiler in his house that he owns needs to be serviced. I have got text messages, I have got photographic evidence of the amount of times I have contacted him, and nothing has been done. So hopefully today someone is going to come out. We've given them a time frame. We have said between 10 till 2 o'clock. That is because obviously I homeschool my son. He is not with me today. His dad's had to take a whole day off work to homeschool him on my behalf so that I can have this boiler fixed. Now, luckily, the plumber that did come out is sadly not the one my landlord's going to use. It's going to use somebody else. Surprise, surprise. And he basically told me straight away, I will not touch that appliance. It cannot be registered as being a safe appliance. It hasn't been installed correctly. Whoever installed it needs to be reported, but that's your decision to make. I can't do that on your behalf. This is what needs doing. So you're looking at least a day's work. But I cannot do anything without your landlord's consent. So to then have my landlord have the audacity to turn around and lie to environmental health. I mean, what if there had been a gas leak? If there had been a gas leak, let's admit it, I'd be dead by now, all right? His house probably would have exploded, and me and my kids would have died, or we would have had carbon monoxide poisoning. That is how serious it is. The fact that it's been a water leak has meant, shame on him, all of his units have blown. All under here, there is no units because of the water damage to the property. Underneath my sink, again, I have had to have all of this pipework replaced, and I did that myself because my landlord refused to do it. All down here, again, rising damp. There is a water leak in the ceiling, and all environmental health said to me when they did finally come out again was, I've seen worse. And it's like, yeah, great, I bet you have seen worse. And I bet half of the worst properties that you've seen have probably been properties that you actually own. You know, they're these council properties or housing association properties. Because, believe me, I have lived in worse squalor. But then what happens is people then get into the mindset of, fuck it. You know, if my landlord is not going to fix my boiler, isn't going to service my boiler to keep me safe, why should I mow the grass and maintain the lawn? And so for the last year, I only got it trimmed last week. I just couldn't be bothered. I thought, what's the point? Why am I? Oh, wow, look, there's actually a bird on the thistle. I don't know whether you can see it. I'm not going insane. I do apologise that I think it's probably found like one of my caterpillars because we keep the ragwort in the garden throughout the year. So the cinnabar moths can have somewhere to live. But anyway, bit of diversion there. But I literally got to the point where I was ringing him and texting him every single day saying, come on, when are you going to service this boiler? When are you going to fix the leak in the roof in the kitchen? And his attitude was, oh, when I come back from Ibiza. Where, you know, well, I'm sorry, then I'm not going to do the garden. And this garden, if I was to show you what it looked like originally when I moved in 8 years ago, that garden, gosh, it would have been an award for being like the way it is right now. When I first moved in, you couldn't even use the garden. There was bramble right up to the window frames. from 3 directions. My children couldn't even play in the garden for like 6 months because me and their dad had to physically go through the whole garden with a fine-tooth comb, and the amount of broken glass we found, beer cans, helium cans. Whoever had rented this house before me had obviously used it as a drug den. There was needles, there was all sorts in that lawn. It was absolutely disgusting. And for the first year of being here, I took a lot of pride in being here. I was very happy that I had a roof over my head. I felt so lucky to be accommodated. But I've been here 8 years now, so I am very lucky to have had a tenancy that long. But in that time frame, the amount of major damage and dilapidation that has taken place in this property has just been an absolute joke. And this is the problem that people are facing. I actually viewed a house last week. I do have the photographs and I have already put them on social media. They were trying to charge £1,000 a month for a property, and the bathroom upstairs was just covered in black mould all over the bathroom. And all the estate agents, said was, well, it's a managed tenancy, we'll make sure that it's sorted. Well, I'm sorry, as a managed tenancy, if you're trying to sell a property to people to rent at £1,000 a month and it's already covered in black mould, in my opinion, you've already done a bit of a shit job. Because you haven't made sure that the previous tenants understood how to ventilate the premises. Not only that, it had the wrong electric appliance in the bathroom, because I've had electricians comment on my photos and say, well, how the hell has that person had a shower and not been electrocuted? Because they've just put a standard light fitting in the bathroom. So yeah, that's my little rant from Crazy Katie today. So, I think landlords do need to be named and shamed, and I think people shouldn't feel like they shouldn't speak their minds, especially after what's just happened in Nuneaton and with those councillors who were basically allowed to say how they wanted and got away with it. So if you have a rogue landlord, or someone who's done some really, really shit work in your property, I think social media is the way to go. And I don't want to be accused of slander, but, I'll see what this plumber says when they arrive later. But as I've said, do not use this person. And if your landlord is not making sure that your property is safe and they've not made sure that the electrics or the boiler have been serviced, that is what environmental health is for, and they are supposed to help you. But it should not take over 6 months for them to come out and see you. I mean, it's like I said, I'm so lucky because I have literally seen photos and videos on social media of council properties in my hometown where there have been burst pipes and the council have said, oh, just turn the stop tap off at the mains and we'll send somebody out on Monday. And then they've literally turned the taps off, but obviously there's water still in the system and it's had to drain and it's caused loads of damage. The council have told them, don't go and get your own plumber, otherwise you'll be liable. You've got to wait for one of our plumbers to turn up. But again, this isn't a managed tenancy by the council. This is private. And literally, I've lived in managed properties by the council. I've been in housing association properties, and I literally had it where it took them 2 weeks to fix a door in my property that I couldn't open where my uniform was so I could go to work. And they said that wasn't an emergency. But my argument always had been, what if I'd been the other side of that door and I couldn't open it? How would I have got out? I didn't have my phone with me at the time. All I did, literally, I'm not joking, was I closed a door in my property and it closed behind me and it wouldn't open. And unfortunately, the gentleman they did send out to fix the door, this was Stonewater now, but it used to be Jefferson Housing Association. He actually cut his hand open trying to do the door, and he even admitted that the doors that had been put on these new properties, these new apartments, were not up to fire safety regulations. And I wasn't the first person to have this happen to them. So I was there 4 years, and within the 4 years, every single door in my apartment had to be put on again. My front door, the lock broke several times. I used to have to throw my keys out of the window so that people could let me out of my apartment because I literally couldn't get out. It was a huge fire safety risk to everybody. And again, the housing association did nothing about it. But I'm going back 12 years. I was very young then. I was very innocent. I was more naive. I didn't know about the citizens' advice. I didn't know about, getting help or support with housing. I mean, I tried, but I got nowhere. And as a result of the bullying and harassment that I endured through Jefferson's, eventually I became homeless. And I think this is why people don't complain, because they don't want to become homeless. But at the same time, if you're being locked in your apartment and you cannot get out of it if there was a fire, and you're reporting this to your landlord and they're like, well, what do you want us to do about it? Pay for a new locksmith yourself? I wouldn't want someone to say that to my own children or if they were older, or to someone who was elderly or disabled. So anyway, back to this boiler. So I've obviously took a video. I'm going to take some photos. But again, this is why landlords get away with it, because there are so many people looking for somewhere to live. And people don't want to be evicted. But at the same time, the way I look at it is, what if this had been a gas leak? And gas leaks are nothing to joke about. Luckily, it was a water leak. But this is why the people that put these in are supposed to be registered. This is why they do their training. So to be told by another plumber that straight away, just by looking at this appliance, that it has not been put in correctly, is terrifying. Because if this has happened to me, how many other people has this happened to? So don't suffer in silence. Name and shame these people. Otherwise, it could cost someone their life.